What is up YouTube, and today we're going to be talking all about Ocean Breeze Luluca and how you want to build her, how you want to use her, and what her best stat allocation is. Now, Ocean Breeze Luluca is currently running on the triple limited banner alongside Cerise and Lethe, and honestly, she is definitely going to be the best unit of the three by a long shot. She's extremely powerful, a very meta unit that is very good against units with non-attack skills because of her S2. Now let's actually talk about her skills very quickly in case you guys don't know what she does. So first we have her S3. It is a 2 debuff cleanse from all of your allies. Also will give them a defense buff, increased defense by 60%. Very nice. And also it will give her an ice cream buff as well as all of her allies. And this ice cream buff is undispellable. And when you're attacked with it, or whenever an ally with this is attacked with this buff, they will lose the buff and then you'll recover 20% of max health, which is extremely powerful. Just a very nice reactive healing effect. It allows her to actually heal her allies without actually needing to take a turn, which is very nice and very, powerful. And this is very nice because the defense buff is very strong on units such as Karina. If you run like Karina with her, Karina of course scales with defense for her damage. And because of this, she's a very good user. Another good user would be something like Lionheart Sirmia, or even something like a Abyssal Euphine. Next, you're going to notice that her S3 actually gives her 3 focus, and the focus is very important when we look at her S2, because you're going to see with her S2, you're going to see when an enemy uses a non-attack skill, so Conquerlius S3, Peyra S3, Ran S2, etc. She will gain 2 focus and she'll increase combat readiness of herself by 25%, and this can activate every 2 turns. And you're going to see after you use a skill, basically your S1 or your S3, when you're at 5 focus, which is when focus is full, you will use all that focus and activate Luluca's special delivery truck. Basically, it's an AoE attack. It doesn't really do that much damage, but the best part is that it will dispel 2 buffs and you have an 85% chance to silence and a 100% chance to decrease hit chance for 2 turns, which is extremely powerful. It makes her super strong against the openers that I mentioned, right? If you actually go against the Conquerlius, probably her best matchup, and she S3s, Ocean Breeze Luluca will push herself up, and then you can S3 right after, and you'll get to 5 focus, and you'll activate Luluca's special delivery. You'll also remove all of those decreased attacks on your team with your S3, and also put up that defense buff, ice cream buff, and then you'll disrupt the enemy side with that silence and decreased hit chance. Really annoying debuffs actually, right? Even if one of them doesn't land, both of these will pretty much cripple a lot of damage dealers, and if the silence lands on utility units, they become pretty much useless. So extremely strong against those openers. Next, we have our S1. It's a single target attack that will actually combat readiness push the ally with the highest combat readiness except for herself by 15%. If you soul burn this for only 10 souls, it'll push everyone. So pretty powerful kit. You're going to see she's a very good cleanser, or dispeller rather, for her team. And she counters those pesky, openers with non-attack skills pretty hard. And she makes your team a lot more tankier, right? You give that defense buff, you have, healing when they get attacked. It makes it so that, just a very powerful utility unit overall. And her S1 is very underrated as well. One of the best S1s in the game because you're always cycling your entire team pretty quick. And her cooldowns are very short as well, right? Her S3 is only 4 turns, and if you actually get the CR push from your S2 from a non-attack skill, you will reduce the cooldown of your S3 by another turn, which makes her a very good cleanser and disrupting unit. Now for her stats and her build, so there's 2 ways to run her. You can run her on a speed set or a counter set. I personally recommend the speed set. It allows her to be more easily built. But if you do run her on a counter set, it can work. But for her stat guidelines, you definitely want around like 220 speed. This will make it so that you can actually cut in front of openers such as like Conquerlius or even like Rans and Peyras if they actually use their S3 or S2, and be able to cut the other enemy damage dealers. Otherwise, anything higher is even better. Honestly, like 230 would be probably preferable, but I think you need at the bare minimum like 220 to really make her work. After that, all you really need is effect resist and health. You want effect resist because obviously if you're against something like a Conquerlius, you don't want to actually get provoked, so you definitely want effect resist. I'd say minimum you'd want like 200%, but anything higher is better. And I mean 200% from not just stats but also from your artifact. Keep in mind your artifact can give you more, it just won't show up. So you want at least 200% total, ideally probably around like 240. And then for your health and defense, as much stat as you can allocate into that without giving up too much speed or effect resist. Just a health percent necklace works, and then some sub stats here and there with some health and defense are pretty good as well. Now for her artifact, there's a lot of choices. Guardian Ice Crystal is probably her best one, especially if you use her on defense teams, because actually what ends up happening is she can actually solo teams pretty easily if you actually have her on this artifact. If she's in a 1v1 situation with an ice unit, she will win a lot of the times because she has a built-in sustain with her S3 and her artifact if you have this on her, because she gets healed, and also because her S1, you know, doesn't do that much damage, but it does add up over time, so pretty good. And if they have a non-attack skill, you can actually proc your passive, which kind of shuts them down. In a lot of situations, I've seen like Ocean Breeze Lulucas versus like Karina's one-on-one. Karina usually wins a lot of one-on-ones, but Ocean Breeze Luluca actually shuts her down pretty easily. So Artifact's pretty good for her, and it gives her a lot more healing that she needs, because even though her Ice Cream Cone gives some healing, you're kind of missing, you know, some healing still compared to like Destina and other Soul Weavers, so this kind of makes up for that. Otherwise, you can run her on her own artifact. It gives you even more effect resist. Also, you'll see that you get even more CR when an enemy uses a non-attack skill. So this is pretty good as well. Probably the second best option. Other options could be something such as like Unfading Memories if you want to heal even more with your S3 and then also get more effect resist. Even Idol's Cheer, even Celestine's okay. Shamadra's Staff is okay as well. Really up to you, but I think Guardian Ice Crystals and her own artifact will be your best bet. Now for your skill enhances, you definitely want your S3 maxed out, you definitely want your S2 maxed out. Your S1 you don't really need to, but I kind of recommend getting it to +5 for that extra CR. And then you're going to see that she gets the most utility out of her skill kit, skill enhances, by being +13 total. Now for her matchups, like I mentioned, she's very good into units such as, you know, Conquer Elias here, because her S3 will trigger her passive, she cuts, and you can't provoke the Ocean Breeze Luluca because, like I mentioned, she has too much ER. And even if you do provoke a different unit, she can, you know, cleanse it off with her S3, and then, you know, she silences you, and then she blinds your entire team. Very powerful. Also, again, good against units such as Peyra. If she S3s, she will actually activate Ocean Breeze Luluca's passive as well. So in that situation, you can only S2, and Ocean Breeze Luluca can just cleanse all of this off. Also very good against Rand, because you can't S2 either. You can't give attack buff and immunity to all your allies, which is huge, so you can only really S3. So it'll make him do a lot less damage without that attack buff. And there's a lot more openers she's very good against, but in general, those 3 openers, which are pretty strong right now, will be shut down. Keep in mind though, she does get countered pretty hard by Sea Phantom Politis, because she does cut down the amount of focus that she gains, so you have to keep that in mind. And she also gets shut down if there's just no non-attack skills on the enemy side. And you know, like Januas do pretty well against her as well, because he can literally just one-shot her. But yeah, pretty much it for Ocean Breeze Luluca. Pretty solid unit, very good in PvP. You can't really use her in PvE, honestly, but in PvP, she's super solid as a defense team unit for Guild Wars, even Arena. She's one of the best Guild Wars defense team units still, ever since her release, so she's very good there. And in PvP for World Arena and RTA, she's very good as a counter pick to those units that I just mentioned. Let me know in the comments down below how you guys have your Ocean Breeze Luluca built, and I'll see you guys next video.